carcinogen is nearly so important in causing human cancer as animal protein. End quote. All right, but what about milk? That the dairy industry has succeeded in selling people on this nonsense that cow's milk is good for them is truly remarkable, and it's a tribute to the power of pouring money into advertising. But of course, nobody tries to defend milk drinking as natural, because what could be less natural than one species' decision to consume the mammary secretions of another species? It's not like nature made a mistake. Dog mother's milk for puppies, kangaroo mother's milk for kangaroos, rat mother's milk for baby rats, cow mother's milk for calves. Oh, hey, wait a minute. Let's use cow mammary secretions for human beings also, including grown-up ones who shouldn't be drinking any mother's milk at their age anyway. Of course not. Nevertheless, the dairy industry would have us believe that consuming its products will protect and even build your bones. The facts, however, are that clinical and population evidence shows us otherwise. For example, in the areas of the world where people consume the most dairy products, you find by far the highest rates of osteoporosis. And please check out our anti-dairy website, which is just dumpdairy.com, to learn all about the link between meat and dairy consumption and osteoporosis. Really, what the dairy researchers do to spin the results of their studies, it would make George Orwell proud. But in the end, it's obvious that the dairy industry is profit-driven and that it will sacrifice our health in a heartbeat in order to make more money. Recently, there's been a lot of commotion about the fact that kids are getting fatter. One culprit is the soft drink industry, which is signing contracts with school systems to have its products given prominent placement. The dairy industry saw the prospect of a serious payday if it could challenge the soda dominance in schools. So what did the industry introduce? A product with even more sugar than sodas and more than twice the calories. This stuff has 460 calories in one bottle and 16 grams of fat to boot. That's almost as much fat as in a McDonald's Happy Meal, and this is just a beverage. Dairy products are a prescription for obesity, heart disease, lethargy, and a host of other problems. That the dairy industry would claim to be doing kids a favor? It's morally revolting. On the other hand, vegetarians are 1/3 as likely to be obese as meat eaters, and vegans are about 1/10 as likely to be obese. You can be a fat vegan, and you can be a skinny meat eater, but vegans are on average 10 to 20% lighter than meat eaters. Anyone who has questions about this might want to review Dr. Neil Bernard's Food for Life or Dr. Dean Ornish's Eat More, Weigh Less. And finally, because many people do care more about quality of life than about longevity, let's look at sex. Now, vegans tend to be lighter than ovo-lacto vegetarians and meat eaters, and they tend to have more energy, need less sleep, and so on. And clearly, these aspects of veganism can be good for a person's sex life. But clogged arteries, they block the blood flow to your extremities before they cut off the blood to your heart and kill you. This results in poor circulation, and for guys, it results in impotence. And while we're on the subject, it's worth noting that many cholesterol-cutting drugs have as one of their side effects reduced sexual desire and reduced potency. So toss out the Viagra. A vegan diet is a natural Viagra. And all of this analysis applies to fish flesh too. Fish flesh also has no fiber, no carbohydrates, and it's packed with cholesterol. Fish are also frequently laden with heavy metals or other contaminants from the water in which they're swimming. We've all heard the warnings about high mercury levels in fish and how pregnant women shouldn't consume fish. Well, if it's not good for pregnant women, it can't be good for anyone else either. According to the U.S. Government Accounting Office, or GAO, inadequate regulations mean that unsafe, contaminated, and spoiled fish often end up on our nation's grocery shelves. In fact, 15% of all foodborne illnesses in the United States, 15%, are caused by contaminated fish, even though fish represents only a small fraction of the total food we consume. Some fish flesh is offered for sale without even having been inspected once, and even where FDA oversight applies, according to the GAO, many inspections consist of no more than paperwork, and even serious violations rarely result in a consumer alert. Really, there's nothing good about fish flesh. The one thing we hear about is the cholesterol-lowering properties of omega-3 and 6 fatty acids, But one finds omega-3s and 6s in vegan foods as well, like flaxseed oil. Besides, if your cholesterol level's below 150, and remember that the average vegan cholesterol level is 133, really, you'd make Ripley's Believe It or Not if you had a heart attack. All of this discussion is about all animal products, even organic animal products. Most of them are also packed full of antibiotics, dioxins, and foodborne pathogens like E. coli, Salmonella, and Campylobacter. Millions of people get sick each year from eating contaminated meat, especially chicken and sea animals, and thousands die. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, meat and dairy consumers are taking in 22 times the acceptable level of dioxins in their food, and 95% of dioxin exposure comes from consuming meat, dairy, or egg products. The other 5% is environmental. Almost none comes from consuming vegan foods. If you care about your health, if you want to live with as much vigor as possible, look as good as possible, and do as much good as possible, it would be wise to move toward adopting a vegan diet.